or should have said for the most part, and things that have nothing to do with what's happening in the present right now. Like I could be at a party drinking and having fun, but then this thought would just come up
Okay.
randomly.
So
You know?
let's just pause right there and say, okay, so whenever there's a situation, we got to figure out the root of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you can see the root of it is like thinking back, and that shit holds.
No, but that's not my intention though.
Yeah, I know it
just
triggers.
happens.
It's a trigger, right? So
Randomly.
yeah, yeah,
There's not
like
even-
like you
yeah.
said, just you walking out the store, something might
Sure.
go off,
Yeah.
So now we know what's triggering it, right? Whenever that trigger comes, you gotta automatically kind of switch to something else. Like, okay, this is the baby steps of moving forward from that. So this was an analogy that one of the doctors has said, which kind of felt like it worked. So basically, he broke it down to a much more simpler. Like, yo, okay, I'm gonna go take a shower, okay, but think about it in smaller steps. Okay, I gotta turn on the light, close the door, get my towel ready. Gotta make sure the hot water's on hot. I gotta touch the water, make sure it's a good temperature for me to jump in. All that. So he broke it down to much more like in those terms, much more like every single step. So when a trigger happens, you try to start these little baby steps. Like, okay,
refocus your attention on something else and do a slow step process.
Yeah, yeah, not something. Yeah, not something else, but to better yourself to escape that trigger. So every time that trigger comes again, you go through these steps again. Like, okay, everything's gonna be all right. That was the past. I accepted the past. I'm trying to move forward now. Everything's cool. Because it'll take repetition, just like with anything you're trying to get good at, in a sense. Some people are more naturally gifted.
So what do I do when I flinch every single time I see somebody cough like they got COVID?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's the same thing. You kind of start the other trigger to those steps. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever.
Okay,
and
so
then
say
try
for
to do
instance,
something.
you're on the bus right now.
But I don't know if it works, but it sounds like it will work.
Wait,
but we got to try it.
I'm asking you the
know what I'm
process,
saying?
okay? So right now, we're on the bus. We stand next to each other. I'm a stranger.
Yeah,
I ain't got no mask on.
yeah.
And I'm coughing. But I'm not just coughing. I'm like really, really coughing.
Dying, yeah.
And then you getting angry, right? Right?
Because you ain't covering your mouth.
Yes.
Okay.
It's triggering this anger,
Yeah.
right? But then how do you talk yourself out of being angry and feeling that certain type of way towards a normal cough that's not even COVID? It's just a guy coughing.
Okay, I got it. So earlier I was saying, we was just talking, I feel like this really works when you're dealing with any type of relationship, just being a friend, family, wife, spouse, whatever. You have to come at that situation with your heart and your mind. Because logically, men, that's how we do. We think logically, and we always go to the brain first. We never think with our hearts. It's not natural.
When you say that, are you referring to women?
No, I'm
When
just
you
saying
say
in
men,
general.
So what do women think?
So women naturally are more, I guess I would consider they think with their heart and speak with their heart first before they think with their brain.
So you use emotions before.
Yeah, they're much more emotional creatures. I mean, we can go on and on about that.
Oh man, we're gonna lose an audience right
Yeah.
now. You better-
No, but
no,
this is how I wanted to attack it.
I've actually heard that before. Whatever you just said,
Right.
I'm just curious about where it came from, where you got that, because I forgot where I learned that easy
I
too.
read a little bit of men are from Mars and women from Venus kind of thing, try to get a better aspect of the how females think, shit like that.
It sounds
I also
like a porn.
No, that was like one of the oldest books, and you never heard of it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's one of the oldest books where they
porn probably.
basically study men and women and how both creatures or humans like go about their daily. So, but and I saw on a clip of a doctor show or whatever that women have this thing in their head where they overanalyze, overthink everything. And as they were doing a study on men, when they present the problem, it was the brain wasn't overworking like that. They saw it in the
MRI.
In the MRI. So I was like, oh, okay. So that helped with my analogy now, saying that like I think when you talk to a person, male, female, whatever it may be, you got to use both. If you're able to use both and carry that on into a conversation, it'll be much easier. So going back to the guy coughing on the bus, I would kind of like check with my heart first and be like, yo, you okay? You need some water? You want to sit down? Instead of letting it anger me and use my head like, why this motherfucker ain't covering his mouth, giving nobody no space? You need to back up like 20 feet or something. being hella disrespectful. Instead of going down that line, I think with my heart first. I'm like, yo, you okay? You cool? You need some water? Can I do something for you? You want to use the elbow every now and then, trying to lighten the mood and figure out this dude out.
But he don't speak English.
You okay? That's global right there. You okay? You need some water? Like, yeah.
Yeah. So see, here's the thing, right? There's not a lot of people like you, Carter. I'm just letting you know, like you're a good dude,
Thank you. I would think so.
And I
I
love
try to
that
be.
about you, But we're trying to
Likewise,
we're trying to share that message. Like it's okay to ask people if they're okay instead of trying to avoid them all the time. That
Yeah.
that's it's a sad world, man, that we're living in. Honestly, like I was talking to you earlier about, just the lifestyle. Like I've been living inside my house for the past 7 years and living through a phone, to interact with people and not being actually physically anywhere. And every single time I go to a physical party, I feel like we have to use alcohol to be happy. But we can't even just have a normal conversation.
Yeah.
But think about this.
Yeah.
Honestly, what we're talking about right here is very depressing. But at the same time, we're trying to fight through it. Trust me, this is so hard for me, sitting here talking about this. But I'm so happy that you're here to talk about it with me. Is because if I was to talk to a camera and just face it for like 2-3 hours straight, yo, I'm telling you that when I see YouTubers do that, and I don't watch them, but I'm just like, man, dude, you got some talent to be able to talk about yourself for that long.
Yeah.
Or you got ADHD. It's one or the other. I was like, man, it's a skill.
It's a skill, and exactly that. And to become great at a skill, you need to practice.
Yeah, you seem like a natural. You be karaokeing on the weekends, probably.
All day, man. That's my thing. So.
Hold up. I have to ask you something.
Yeah.
Favorite karaoke song?
Favorite? I mean, I don't know.
Don't lie.
I ain't gonna lie.
The one goes, give me that mic, motherfucker. That's it. My song. Which one is that?
I mean, I like a couple Sam Smith songs that I can.
Sam Smith.
My voice kind of sound right in, that I can kind of do.
You could. Can we hear a Sam Smith? Can I hear a Sam Smith?
No, man, you can't do it right now. But
which one is that?
I gotta look at it. I gotta let the music flow. It's all about love and losing love and all that. So
damn.
Yeah, when you lost in the sauce of drinking, you get to that mode where you got that liquid courage and you can rock out. Rock it out. But yeah, I got like 2 tracks from him that I sing all the time. It's pretty good.
Okay, I gotta ask you another question.
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I don't know, man. The latest movies I've seen that was pretty good. I mean, I seen Wakanda recently.
Nah, when I say favorite movie, that means you watched it 5 times.
Lincoln Lawyer.
Lincoln Lawyer.
Lincoln Lawyer is one of my favorite movies.
Oh,
I could watch that over.
What did you like about that movie?
Just the twist and the mystery about it, making your brain think to try to figure out what's going on in the movie, like and then they hit you with the left and the right, where it's like, oh, okay.
Can we have a spoiler alert? You guys can fast forward this part. Like, which was your favorite scene?
Man, it's just the whole part of him trying to figure out and outsmarting the other guy,
Oh, after he found out that the other dude was a bad dude, right?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Stuff like that. Him going on his little journey trying to figure that out and, yeah, get the dude back for trying to set him up.
Do you think it was, I'm talking from psychology standpoint now, okay?
Okay.
Do you think it was the fact that Lincoln Lawyer was a douchebag, but then he was the kind of the unlikable dude, but became a good guy at the very end?
Right, I could see that. He just kept it real. And people who he didn't understand him, he didn't care about, which is okay, and I guess I can kind of relate. But so he just kept it moving as he should, and
so I have a background in film. When I say background in film, that means I didn't graduate with no degree, nothing. I took a couple city college classes and said that I was a film major when I wasn't. Okay, so that's what it means when I have a background in film.
Yeah.
Okay, but they say in film school saying that. It's kind of like what's in your library, right? They kind of a movie tells you who you are as a person, in a sense. One of your favorite movies, and there's actually psychology behind that,
right?
And it's funny that you say Lincoln Lawyer, but mine's was Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, you told me about that. I tried to watch it. I couldn't get into it though.
Yeah, so it's a story about.
Con man.
Well, so here's the thing. Not just a con man in a sense, but I'm not saying I'm as smart as him though. He's a smart motherfucker. Like this is
Yeah,
based on a true story, by the way.
he finessed
Yeah,
everybody.
it's
Yeah,
based on a true story, but they twisted a little bit around. But I don't want to spoil it for you guys.
yeah,
But probably in the next episode or something like that, I'll elaborate more
yeah,
about that whole thing. But
yeah.
I can relate to it in a sense. Basically, not knowing who you are as a person, and constantly have to lie about who you are. That's how I felt. That was what relate, and I just wanted to be caught, and that's why I felt like that movie was one of my all-time greats.
And
Yeah.
and another thing about that movie that we can kind of relate is that that's all he knew, and that's what his peers was doing. His dad was doing, and his dad was so good at it that that's what he
Wait,
he
did you
gravitated
watch
to
it?
it. Yeah, I did.
Oh shit, did you like it?
It was okay.
Oh, okay,
I give it
okay.
like a 5, 6.
Yeah,
I couldn't really
relate to
indulge
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but I get the
Cause
story. But
he's a real. That's why. Excuse my language. I got it. What time stamp is that? Hold on. Make sure.
that's an hour 13.
Our thing. You gotta bleep that out. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, we try to keep
Excuse
it
me. Yeah, but
PG. But yeah, like that's why I said we could kind of relate because growing up in our culture in our society is like that's what the people were doing, you know, ahead of us, and whatever they were doing, we was just in that environment. So um, that's one way to look at how about look at it like growing up is like whoever your peers or your elders are doing, your role models are doing. That's what kind of like you're gonna gravitate towards because that's what you have access to, and that's what you're gonna use to try to get ahead in life and so on and so forth.
yeah, and for me, like just growing up as a whole, I was I don't I say lucky. I like even though that like we were doing not good things, but
We wasn't doing
no,
terrible
no,
things,
but I was lucky
but
enough to still have these relationships. Like I hung out with Gen X people. They're a lot older than me, like 10 years. So in 1975 type of thing. And they taught me a lot along the way, and I love them so much for that. Like I met them at, when they were 24, 25 and I was 14, 15, but just just having them around still to this day, it shows me that although their intent back then was probably to get me to do dirt for them, but my history with them today, they treat me like we're like best friends in a sense. Like they're really good people to me. So I was fortunate enough to have that type of guidance to kind of steer me away from doing like just the really petty shit,
hmm
and look and look bigger,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So
that bigger brother role, that bigger brother role. Basically, that's kind of what it is. I feel like, and like it's a beautiful thing if you can, of course, get behind the right guy and listen to the right guy that's trying to guide you and help you with the path that you chose.
yeah, and I
So
called them this past couple of weeks, and they were happy to hear my voice, and I was telling them about the whole depression thing, and they opened up to me. I was surprised, man. I was like, damn. He's like, yeah, we went through it too. Like one of my buddies wanted to off his girl and off himself right after. He had just got out of prison. He did a good bid, and then all that happened to him, and he just But when he had shared that with me, it meant so much. Is because, man, he said, "Hey, man, I support you 100%. Go for this channel. Like people need to hear this kind of shit, because it is a very depressing world. Because the Gen X people grew up in the non-internet era, right? So they weren't exposed to what we get to see today. So I've seen. I hate to separate us like this, but there's the baby boomers, which is our parents, right? And there's the Gen X, right? And then there's the millennials, which is us. And I hate that name. But but
what do you don't like about it?
no, because there's so much derogatory things that stick to it.
Is it?
Meaning, like, it's basically your mom and dad talking shit and going online and bombing and trying to spread bad news about their kids type of thing. And it led up to to all these things that we either own up to, you know what I'm saying, that yeah, we are like that, or no, we're nothing like that, and it becomes like a conflict. You know what I'm saying? But with generation, and it's bound to happen too. So my Gen X buddies, they got kids, and they got the Gen Z kids, and then when the millennials have their kids, they got the I don't know what it is right now, but eventually we're gonna be talking shit about our kids too. I mean, it just needs to stop. Honestly, it's like we're separating ourselves, and we're in the community together, and we should be looking out like
Sharing the good,
yeah,
not just ragging on each other. Yeah, definitely taking the good from what we learned from our generations or years in this world. You
but
know
it
what I'm
also
saying?
comes from an understanding too, because the baby boomer. Okay, so people that don't know, the baby boomer is basically the age after World War II, right? So what happened was like the military, everybody when and their girlfriends was like, oh, this is my last time seeing you, type of thing. I'm getting drafted, and then I'm gonna knock that girl up, and then boom, a whole bunch of babies start popping out, right?
Ah, okay, that's
Right?
how it started.
Yeah,
That's
that's
how the
how
word
that
baby boom. Okay,
yeah. So after World War II, which was the same time during the Indochina War, which is the Vietnam War,
right.
post-war. So our parents were baby boomers. My dad
Mm-hmm.
was born in 1955. What you know? Your parents born?
59. My mom was 59. My dad was probably like 55.
Yeah, and my mom was 61, 1961. So, like coming from a Vietnam War baby type of thing, like, oh, that's what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
See, how much? Okay, so you know what? Let's get straight to it. I think because I think we're wasting a lot of time that we should be sharing it.
It's our first episode,
It is
so
our
we're
first
just trying to
episode.
get it
We
right,
we
get
we
comfortable with
wanted
this whole thing. So
yeah. So we got so sidetracked that we forgot the whole thing as a whole. Like we will talk about depression. I want to talk about this specifically on another show, another episode. But
yeah,
we actually had a purpose this time, and we might have to edit it out and try to just cut it short. But um, coming as Vietnamese first generation babies, right? I mean, first generation children
yeah,
post war. When I say first generation, I mean you're born in America, right? And um, coming from Vietnam, you don't really understand exactly your parents' stories because you hear the same thing from everybody. They always say, "Oh, yeah, refugee from Vietnam, the whole boat story, and went to moved. Well, for me, um, went to Hong Kong. From Hong Kong, they went to the Tenderloin district in San Francisco, and then we never left. Then that's my story, you know, just in short. But just just understanding the history, what I researched along the way, which I left out, why I'm here today. It's like how I discovered the ADHD,
hmm
right? Like,
right.
damn man, we talking.
Agent Orange and
Oh
shit.
my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it got real deep. So just to, so I recently myself self-diagnosed my daughter with ADHD. I started noticing signs. She was very extremely talkative, right? And one day I was in bed with her. My wife was in New York for work, right? So she left me with the kids for 7 days by myself. First
Nice.
time, right? I was, man, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was probably the toughest thing I've done in my, well, it's because you care, right? When you care too much, you stress yourself out, and that's what people tell me. Like, there's nothing wrong with caring, But at the same time, it's like I didn't sleep, so it was like I forgot what night it was. It was like night number 4, 5 with no sleep, and I'm sleeping 2 hours a day, every single day when they're day. Like I'm very light sleeper. They kick me. They just sleep in the same bed with me, by the way. Okay, so these two girls, they kick and they cry and they have nightmares and all that stuff, in the middle of the night. And once I flinch, I can't go back to sleep.
Right.
So I'm struggling. And what do? I just lay in bed, don't do nothing, and just, okay, you know what? It's like 4:30. I might as well just stay up and just search my phone type of thing. And then, time goes by. One night, I just got fed up with it. I called my daughter, honey. I said, honey, what if somebody said to you that you talk too much? How would that make you feel? And by the way, that didn't come from nowhere. It came from something that just happened to me recently that kind of woke me up because somebody had said something to me which really offended me, but I tried to hold my anger in it, but I didn't say anything. I just kind of left it alone. But he basically made a statement to make it sound like I spoke too much. But we were all drunk and coked out, and he made that comment, and I wasn't offended, but inside I was
Kind of.
frustrated,
Right.
right? But I was like, I don't think he meant it that way because it didn't come. We weren't beefing.
Yeah.
We were just sharing stories or whatever.
Shooting
It
the
was.
shit.
Yeah,
And
but he was just talking about my daughter, and he's saying she's just like you. She talks a lot too.
mm-hmm.
That's where the context was. So it wasn't like he was trying to disrespect me. He just said that
Yeah, yeah.
you talk a lot, like that your daughter talks a lot too. So it's a good thing. But then I had said to her during bed, so I'm running around in circles right now. But I was saying to her in bed, I said, honey, what if somebody had said you talk too much? How would that make you feel? And she was like, what? No. I'm like, what? Wait. It's okay. It's like she was kind of like feeling anxiety, and I was like, what happened? She goes, that would make me feel really sad, Daddy. I was like, why does it make you sad? Because I love talking. And I was like, damn. And I was like, you know what? It's like 10 p.m. at nighttime. I said, honey, just talk away. Just go ahead.
Yeah.
So I just let her ramble the whole night. Usually I put my kids to bed at 7:30, 8:30, but it was like 9:30 and she wasn't stopping. And that's why I said the things that I said, by the way, just to let you guys understand as a whole. So that night when she fell asleep, I started doing some Googling. And I said, kids that talk too much. And boom, first thing popped up, ADHD. And I said, ADHD. I was like, My only memory of ADHD was some kid that I knew, more like a neighbor, a family friend type of thing. He came over my house, and this motherfucker was running circles in the house, like just couldn't stop it. He was just running around and just super hyperactive, and he was going around and jumping on my bed and humping my bed and doing some crazy shit. And I was like, damn,
Yeah.
and that's what I thought ADHD was.
Yeah. Maybe a different form or something.
Yeah, but yeah, I was thinking that's ADHD, but just scrolling down the whole symptom things, I wish I could bring it up right now, but thinking back, and then it said that it was hereditary, and it was almost 76% from the parents, which was like, wait, what? So then I started looking down this thing, and I remember that I crossed paths with these symptoms before on a sheet of paper because someone I knew asked me to fill out a questionnaire because he thought that I knew him really well, and he shot over that paper to me, and I was just looking at it, and I was like, okay, I'll sign out for you. So I was looking, man, I was like, this is like, sounds like me. And then I was like literally checking off half of whatever he had, but then on one side I looked at it, I was like, dude, this is like 95% me. Every single thing. But I never thought much of it. I didn't really care. Like it was not a big deal because, during the time it wasn't really affecting me. Like things only surface when responsibility comes out. Things that you have to do it that money can't fix. So with that being said, I started going down the rabbit hole, and I was like, oh my damn. I said, do I have ADHD? So then I started looking, and I started going down the list and looking at all the symptoms, and I started looking at YouTube videos of doctors teaching other doctors how to assess adult ADHD. And then one of the things that it said was, it was funny. Like I'll probably link it into the description box below, but don't quote me on this, but something along the lines of like trouble with the justice system, substance abuse, severe anxiety, has tattoos, likes dark colors. What else was there? But the main thing that really, really stuck with me, what ADHD, how he explained it, he said, a person with ADHD, right, could you be sitting in a room with nothing around them, right, and you give him an assignment. If you do not give him a deadline or a consequence, this person will never move. And I was like, wait, what? So then I started doing a lot of self-reflection, and I started to think. I was like, is that true? Is that they're saying that people with ADHD can't be self-driven. They have to be told that there's going to be some consequences if you don't do it.
Some pressure, yeah.
And yeah, you look at it as pressure, but when you think about it as a whole, it's like I gotta basically talk to my daughter like that from now on to get her to do it,
Right.
right? And and you can't raise a child like your neurotypical child. When I say neurotypical, it's I don't want to say normal because that's just a word, right? But more of the common brain, right? Like if there's a different way to raise a child with ADHD, but it's the biggest thing about it is understanding, you know. And I never understood ADHD, you know, and that's why I wanted to share what I found out. But there's much more to that. We can have a separate video for that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like they say, I don't know, as what my research said was that 1 out of 10, 0.5% has uh, ADHD. So it's not that common. So it is something that's rare and that
But
needs to be addressed.
in
You know what I'm
our
saying?
circle, when I say our
But
circle,
that's why
yeah,
I like doing this. I wanted our circle's point of view from it too. Do you see? Do yourself see you can relate to these? Uh, what do you call it? Like
symptoms.
symptoms of ADHD, just so that we could kind of prove
I didn't
if
even name
that point
everything. Google,
five
yeah.
is even correct
I
or not.
want you guys to go Google this information and look it up yourself, you know,
Yeah.
and see what applies to you. But here's where I'm going with this, okay? So I started to think about hereditary. I started to think about family, and then I started thinking about my family as a whole. But then I was like, damn, how the fuck am I supposed to find my family's history? Because my dad, he's been out the picture since 2003, January 3rd. The reason why I know that date was that's my sentence date, and that was the last time I saw him was in the courtroom. But anyway, I haven't spoken to him. Ran into him one time in the grocery market, but that's a whole different story. But I never had the opportunity to get to know the man as a whole, right? So I couldn't understand him. I don't know nothing about him. I just knew that he lost his family to the way I saw it through gambling. Like but I never thought about his story as a whole. Like when you really think about what the man went through, he went through war, right? He was the older brother in the second family. So my grandfather had two wives, right? My dad's story is a little bit complicated, and I didn't find this out until a lot later. But my my dad is Bắc Tư. Do you know what that is?
Mm.
Bắc Tư is North Vietnamese from 1954 that migrated down from to the south during the war. So just a little give you a quick brief history. The Vietnam War was from 1955 to 1975, 20-year war. But before that, there was the Indochina War, right? That was happening. Basically, Ho Chi Minh was creating a revolutionary war amongst the French army and trying to basically take over the South. Uh, well, not the South, but basically take over from the North, fighting down south, you know. But I'm not no history buff right now. My mind is like super all over the place. But I want you guys to do your research, and then we'll talk furthermore. But anyway, I lost my train of thought. So my dad's history, I never knew at all. Like I found out that my family was from Thanh Hoa, right? Uh, THANH. Next word HOA, right? And my grandfather was uh, during the Indochina War migrated down the south, and we went to Cam Ranh, which was Cam Ranh, Phú Yên, Khánh Hòa, right? And that's for those that don't know, that's the airport that you land in when you go to Nha Trang, right? But we just say Nha Trang just for people to understand a little easier, you know. So because yeah, a lot of people don't know where Cam Ranh is, but hopefully they do now. But Cam Ranh was a military base back in the days, and well, I'm going off subject. the my my dad, he was the captain of the boat that basically brought a group of people to America during that time. And my dad not met my mom, but they basically got acquainted on the boat coming to America. They were on a refugee boat for 2 weeks. Like they were out in the sea. My dad had game. My dad got super game. No, I don't know if it's super game, but he did what he had to do during that 2 weeks. So during that time, there was a lot of Thai pirates, by the way. So there's a war going on. You got to sneak out in the middle of the night, right? Hop onto a boat and just cast off in the sea. That's called being. Just basically, just go. They call it the boat people. You know, you just go wherever the waves take you, type of thing, right? So they were out in sea for 2 weeks, and a storm hit. You know, just like the movies, it was just crashing in, boom, 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 or something like that. My mom didn't know how to swim, you know, and she barely knew my dad, but she knew that, you know, of him, type of thing. And my dad found out that she didn't know how to swim, so he sat next to her and he gave her a little wooden, I don't know,
Floaty, whatever.
whatever it is, you know, I guess piece of wood, just to say, right? Keep in mind, on this boat, there's no food, no nothing. All they were bringing was it was like a 30 foot little boat, maybe even 40. I never asked the story, so don't quote me on this, but I'll retell the story eventually. But he basically gave her the piece of wood and said, "Hey, just hang on to this if you don't want to swim, and don't worry, I'll take care of you," type of thing. So the storm was coming down, and everybody was crying on the boat, screaming for their dear lives, type of thing. And he was just trying to calm everybody down. People were grabbing stuff to try to get rid of the water from sinking the boat, type of thing. It was bad, you know, just. And then my dad whipped out the guitar, you know, and he started whipping out the guitar, and he just started whipping out and started singing. And my mom was like, "Damn." The song was Dong Tai Bok. And if you ask me what was so cool about that song, like Dong Tai Bok means, I think it's, so when you write a letter in Vietnam, in America we write "Sincerely yours," P.S. whatever and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you write a letter in Vietnamese, the last words before your name is Dong Tai Bok. That means that's
Oh,
it.
okay.
So he whipped out that song, and I don't know what it means, but this is it type of business. But he started singing it, and then boom, they survived the thing. They went to Hong Kong, panties dropped, boom, made my sister. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But my sister, she wasn't born in Hong Kong. She was born in America. We came to America in 1982, but we were there in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't. So we came to America, and he left his past behind. But my dad's story was just as a Vietnamese man, just to come to America. Imagine this, right? You're coming to a brand new country, right? You don't know nothing about. You don't even speak a lick of English. All you're trying to do right now is basically to get liked by people and know that, hey, I'm not here to take over anybody else's job, to do whatever stuff like that. I'm here to scratch your back, type of thing. That's the mentality that we got to come in with, because we're immigrants, right? You want to be able to assimilate into a culture, join a culture without feeling like you pose a threat, right? So you try to do the right thing and, you know, be part of the community or whatever, right? But it doesn't really pay the bills. We were on welfare growing up, on government food stamps, living in the Tenderloin district. If you guys Google the Tenderloin district, that's where I grew up. And the Tenderloin, even Dave Chappelle said something about the Tenderloin.
It's rough.
Yeah, he said, "There ain't nothing tender about that motherfucker out there."
Hell no.
You know, like when I think about the Tenderloin back in the 80s and 90s, I mean, I'll link you to another story, to one of my buddies' story below. He was from the Tenderloin, but he passed away recently too, like 2-3 years ago. But that's another story in itself. But just imagine coming to the Tenderloin and trying to find a job, and then all your buddies around you, whatever it is, go to the casino. You see them come up.
Yep.
You know, and you think that's the fast life. You think that's the better route to take, because the job doesn't pay well and your rent is not really covered. I mean, yeah, the government covers so much and stuff like that, but during that time, I don't think Section 8 was out yet. You know, this was all new. Like food stamps was a kind of a new. I don't know if it's a new thing, but the credit card didn't come out into the '90s. So think about that, right? Credit history and anything. So it was a different time back then, right? So he finds out later on that I don't know when he found out, but his little after he left, his little brother died from the war. I don't know how long after when he found out. I never talked about it. He never spoke about it.
How old was your dad when he left?
My dad was 24.
Okay, so
So
it's a
my
young man.
so
Yeah.
my mom was actually she left. She was from Gumrun too. She left on her own by herself with her cousin. Sorry, her cousin was 14 years old, a boy. During that time,
How was
she was 18 turning 19.
Okay.
Yeah, and she literally said during that time, right? There was a time period in Vietnam called Thời Bao Cấp. Thời Bao Cấp is THOI, next word Bao BAO, next word CAP. I know Vietnamese because I actually went to Vietnamese school for a little bit, and I like Vietnamese karaoke. Just for, you know, by the way, yeah. So, but anyway, so
Good music.
yeah, I love Vietnamese music, man. We got to do a karaoke night one time. So Thời Bao Cấp, right, was a very challenging time, the most poorest time that Vietnam ever did. Now, keep in mind, Thời Bao Cấp is 1975 all the way to 1989, and this was the transitioning period of the fall of Saigon, right? That's what they call it in Vietnam, which was the rise of Ho Chi Minh City, right? Now, during that time, the currency was no longer valid, the money, right? So what you had to do, actually, you had to exchange your old money out, and they would devalue your money, and your money would be like, I think it was like 30 cents to a dollar type of thing. Don't quote me on this. I don't know. Even my mom doesn't even know. But during that time, they were passing out. They were trying to exchange money, and my mom's side was a wealthy families. I never knew that. When people tell you that, oh yeah, we came from a wealthy family, then we became poor, you don't really read it. You don't process it. Like you don't understand what they had and what they lost. But as a child, when you hear that, you really don't really care. You just think, ah, man, we're still fucking poor. Who gives a fuck, right? So it doesn't matter. It's not like you only talk about stuff when you become somebody successful. But when you're living it, you're poor. It just becomes another annoying, not annoying story, but just a story that's not relevant because it doesn't teach us anything. That's what I kind of took from it. But now, being older, I wanted to find out more, so I started doing my research. But my mom told me that my grandma used to be the banh mi lady. She used to sell banh mi, like everyone knew her, and we used to live by this village market called Chợ Sâu Chân, Cây Sâu Chân, like market number 9, and we lived like down the street from there. But my grandma used to sell baguettes, Vietnamese sandwiches, that type of thing. And my auntie used to sell fabric, you know, and they were pretty well off. You can say not rich, but you know, they took care of themselves and whatever. Like they had a family of 10 kids, you know. The oldest sister passed away at 5 years old, but I'll get into detail with that later. But my mom was telling me that the the people in charge, I'm not going to say as a whole because I have to watch what I say when I speak. Just to let you guys know, my grandfather is turning 99 next year, and I'm trying to visit him. And I don't want this shit to be causing me any type of, you know, like problems when I touch down over there talking about, you know, politics and stuff so forth. Because someone actually warned me about that. They told me, hey, you got to be careful what you say, is because, you know, if they don't like what you're saying, they're not gonna let you in the country, and they can't even lock you up. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm just not gonna touch that, but I'm just gonna retell the history, right? So during that time, they would go back and exchange money, and each family would get equivalency. Let's just say 100 USD per family for a whole month, right? So you can only change out that money per family. These guys only came back twice. Never came back. So now my family's sitting on a bunch of old money that can't be cashed out. and they got broke. It was useless money. People were passing out food coupons. The food stamps existed in Vietnam. For the poor people, they would line up, and they would receive coupons to go exchange out for rice and all that type of stuff that that
Whatever they needed.
yeah, whatever the necessities was during that time. But now, keep in mind, you're talking about a group of people with no plumbing systems and all. Like, think about it, right? Today we have toilets, right? These guys had nothing but squatters, and people would just, this is the 1970s. This is normal back then. Like, and they just finished a war, so now they're in the process of rebuilding, right? So everything is unorganized. There's no military personnel that's supposed to figure out exactly how the system is run. So they're learning as they go, type of thing, and it was very disorganized. So now you're constantly, from morning to nighttime, trying to go get food for your family, lining up there. And sometimes you line up and you wouldn't even get food. And then I was doing a whole bunch of YouTube videos, watching these people tell the stories, like women would get groped up on and all that kind of stuff. And it just think about that society as a whole, trying to grow from that. And where they are today, I mean, they've gone such a long way. Like, it just stopped in 1989. I went back in 1994 for the first time, but that's another story. So, where am I even going with this?
Well,
I'm just talking about. Oh yeah, I'm talking about the way that their
parents grew up.
Our parents' mindset was.
Yeah.
So it caused my mom to say, you know what, I gotta go. If I don't do this, we're just gonna continue to suffer, and we'll continue for. So that's why she jumped on that boat, and that's how she met my father, and that's what why I'm here in America today. But when I think about it now, I'm like, man, if there was no war, how would life be?
Yeah, we probably wouldn't be here, for sure. Our parents wouldn't have never met, probably. I don't know. And it's just been different.
So what I wanted to share with the audience was something that I shared with Carter. This is why we are creating this podcast or this YouTube video for you guys. It's because there was a war tactic during that time in Vietnam, a biological warfare, you can call it. They used a herbicide, right? So what they would use was herbicide. This herbicide was called Ancient Orange, AGENT, agent, like secret agent, Agent Orange. Now, Agent Orange was used to basically kill all the plants in agriculture. So basically, they would choke out the Vietnamese army, the Northern Army, and it was approved by the Southern government, and even the UK got involved, and they were saying, hey, you sure this is safe and stuff like that. They're like, oh, you can drink this shit like it's nothing. It's like water, and people didn't give a fuck, and they said, okay, let's go. So they started dumping barrels and barrels and barrels over the amount of the span of 1971 to 1961 to 1970 or 1971, roughly 10 years. Like, you guys have to look this stuff up, okay? So they dumped Ancient Orange into the waters, right, to kill off the agriculture and get rid of all the jungle warfare. They did guerrilla warfare in Vietnam. They were hiding in the jungles and underneath the grounds and creating traps and all that stuff like that, landmines, everything, right? It was there's rules of wars if you actually, look it up. And whatever's happening in Ukraine and stuff like that, obviously, you guys know that rules are out the door at this point. Like, nobody's enforcing it. But anyway, during that time, they started dumping a whole bunch of Ancient Orange, which was that herbicide, that liquid, into the water, and people were bathing with it. People were showering with it. People were drinking from it. Keep in mind, there was no plumbing like how it is today. So there was wells, right? When I went back in 1994, we were drinking out of the well. And I remember that. So there's no way in hell that they figured out how to clean out that Ancient Orange during that time. So we're talking 10 10 years, I think it was 20 million gallons. 20 million gallons. You know how big that is? Hold on. Let me check this out. I have to check this up real quick. All right. I don't know. You Google 20 million gallons. But what I can tell you is that they dumped it on 4.5 million acres. You know how big 4.5 million acres is? That's the size, a little bit less than New Jersey and bigger than Connecticut. That's a lot of land. And when you look at the map, Google Ancient Orange map. I put it on the screen when I have the time. But my family drank out of that water, and your family drank out of that water. Right? And the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because if you actually go onto the Vietnam Veterans website, you'll see that today there are people claiming, about 5,500 claimants only as of today, that are claiming Ancient Orange, I guess you can say the GI program bill, right? They're paying out everybody $39,000 if you served in Vietnam from this time to this time, right? And they're collecting benefits. I don't want to even say benefits, because it's not fair for them, because they didn't want that, But they're getting compensation for whatever is that had happened to them, and only to find out that this was passed on to their children as well, right? Now, when we hear Ancient Orange, we think, oh, I know you talking about those kids with those weird, the disformed looking face and all that kind of stuff like that. I'm like, no. That's just what you guys understand, because that's what you guys see or were recently told that in the last 15, 20 years. But new information has been coming to light recently. And that's why I'm talking about this. Is that if you go to their website, right, you're going to notice a lot of things on there that's going to make you feel very uncomfortable. Because now there's a whole bunch of things that that they're saying that if you have these things, so keep in mind, for the United States government to say, hey, if you have this, you can collect the money, that takes a lot. That means that there's a lot of evidence that Ancient Orange caused this to happen, for them to want to compensate, for them to take money out and pay off these people.
Yeah, I mean,
there's evidence.
Obama was the first president to actually, first time to step back into Vietnam since the war, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I think he started that whole Agent Orange.
I have no idea. I want you guys to do the research, and you guys tell us what you guys discovered, because this is just me trying to inform. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm not, whatever, just stuff like that. But I want people to be informed about this information, because what I'm about to tell you is that these things that are listed, people dearly close to me died from this in their 50s, 60s. My uncles, my sister, my aunties, and possibly your family or your siblings, right? Like, I don't know exactly what happened to my mom's sister, the oldest sister, but she died at 5 years old. And I don't know exactly her birth date, but we'll find out in the future. But my uncle, right, died from unknown. My auntie died from unknown causes in her 20s, right? This is my dad's side, by the way, And my dad's little brother died from the war, after being drafted, right? After he left, so he had to live with that. But on my cousin's side, which is I don't want to say any specific, my uncles have died from prostate cancer, lung cancers. Okay, this is what's listed. My auntie, my friend's mom recently just died from bladder cancer. So bladder cancer is listed on there. Chronic B-cell leukemia is listed on there. Hodgkin's disease is on there. Multiple myeloma, is that? I don't even know if I said that right. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, prostate cancer, respiratory cancers, including lung cancer, some soft tissue, sarcomas. Man, I can't even pronounce half the shit. But recently, like, I have another list that I couldn't even bring up. But damn, I wish there's more to it. But hyperthyroidism, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I just found out I got that. And how I knew was from this website, because I've always had a problem with excessive sweating. Anybody that knows me, like, yo, they see me in Vietnam, I be dripping, leaking. Like, I can't handle heat very well, and I can't handle the cold very well either. Only when I drink, it's fine, but I have excessive sweating and sweaty palms, and I have tremors. I never knew that my tremors came from that. And the reason why I know that is because I looked at my old blood work, and I saw that my T3 and T4 levels are off, and I need to go in and get a check. And that's how you find out through those. It's the thyroid, checking your thyroid.
Right.
And I didn't even think about it until my mother-in-law told me, "Hey, you might want to check your thyroid because your hands are very trembling." And I was like, "What?" I said, "Damn, Mom, Hong Kong." Oh, by the way, my wife is Hong Kongese. She's from Hong Kong. My mother-in-law is from Hong Kong, and we'll get into the story about that later. But anyway, yeah. So furthermore, right, there was more information that came to light, and this is through the media, by the way. I'm gonna leave all this in the link in the description box, by the way, and you guys can go look at it yourself. But there was something that caught my attention, which was the grandchildren of the GI Bill, right, which was me, right, people my age or even people younger than me. There's an avalanche of evidence, right, that majority of them have attention deficit disorder, and they have dyslexia and depression. Well, when you have ADHD untreated, it leads to depression. Just to let you guys know that. You'll eventually find out sooner or later. But if you got everything in life, then you're fine. You know what I'm saying? You probably just got substance abuse issues. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, this is all real information. I'm not telling you guys to believe anything I said. Just do the research yourself. But these GI people, they've been trying to fight for this for the last 20 years. There was an actual, I'm gonna link it to as well. There's an actual panel of people that talk about how it affected their parents, to them, to their children as well. They're trying to get, right now the GI Bill, they're only covering, I guess, the people that served the war and their kids for birth defects, right? But it basically turned into something just much more. And that's what I'm trying to come across. It's like the reason why I'm seeing all this too as well, because I did some little research too, and autism was listed on one of those too. That's something that I wanted to share. Is because it's been happening around my community. Like my friends, more than 6, 7 families that I know that don't know each other have autistic children. And I just kind of saw the pattern. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Makes no sense at all. But I'm also seeing people have struggles having children. But, that's another total subject. But lightning struck twice. Usually in these type of families, I mean, the thing about it is this, right? When these type of things happen in the family, the first thing people are going to do is try to Google why it happened. It's just only normal. You want to figure it out. But the same thing is that's when the finger pointing starts to happen. We start blaming people, because when you actually Google autism, they say that it's from the male. So when people hear that, they blame it on their husbands. It's natural.
Yeah.
But all I'm asking for people to look into is say, hey, maybe this was something that we were dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is something much more than just your husband going out and drinking and do cocaine every weekend with me. I'm sorry, but...
Well, me, not with you.
No.
But yeah, no, like you guys have to do your own research and kind of think more and think back to the timeline. Like, there's a lot of shit that happened during the Vietnam War. One of them being Agent Orange, and other things we probably don't even know about. But there's a lot of defects that possibly could happen from these dangerous chemicals. And shit,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
And in the beginning, people kept saying, oh, ADHD is like a Vietnamese thing. Like it's culture. No, which I understand where they're coming from. I do. You know, when I told my mom that I had ADHD.
It's not just a Vietnamese thing though. It's a worldwide thing.
Oh yeah.
Everybody
Oh
can
yeah.
get it.
So when I say,
But maybe coming from war, people who come from war, they use all these weapons and stuff. Probably got it from that too.
so
Maybe I don't know.
I just had to disclose this. The people that I've spoken to in the past couple of weeks were all Vietnamese, so that's why I'm speaking like that. But I'm saying overall, like ADHD. Yeah, I'm not saying, oh, discredit other people for having ADHD. No, that's not at all. Actually, as a matter of fact, I want to say this. I want to clear up what people mean by ADHD is overdiagnosed and underdiagnosed at the same time, if that makes any sense. It's because a lot of people have a problem with substance abuse. And ADHD pills are Adderall pills, right? It's like meth in a pill in a sense.
Adderall pills are ADD pills or what?
Adderall is for ADHD.
Okay.
That's what it's for. And it's a stimulant, right? And some people abuse it, you know, and a majority of college students, they pop it like candy. You know, and they focus. It helps them focus and stay in tune, and they want to get prescribed that. So then they tell their doctor whatever and stuff like that. They got all these certain things and whatever. But the messed up thing is that it discredits people like me. And it almost feels shameful for me saying that I have ADHD because it sounds like I have a substance abuse problem, or I'm just trying to, you know, take a cheap pill or something, you know, and if I'm quite frank with you, which I have been with everyone else, I took an Adderall pill one time. That was during COVID when I decided to try to study, you know, and I never studied my whole life, so I never understood that there was an art to it, you know, and it takes practice.
Yeah, it's
you know,
not easy for sure.
But the biggest thing about studying is that if you don't know the fucking words, you got to start from scratch.
Yeah.
You know, but I thought, okay, this is gonna be cake, like whatever. I'm just gonna try to read it, understand. But every single thing I was reading, it was just confused. I was reading a psychology book, you know, and I was very interested in psychology. I always wanted to understand myself because I felt like, I ain't gonna share my story with anybody. I might as well just try to learn about myself, you know. So that's what I did that. But it brought, but I didn't catch on to ADHD during that time. When I took that Adderall pill, I felt very focused, but I was trying. I felt like a lot of coffee. That's how it felt like to me. I wouldn't compare it to Coke.
Antsy?
I mean,
I get jittery and antsy and
yeah,
like, you know.
Yeah, but at the same time, I didn't know that I was drinking coffee with it at the same time. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Probably
mixing
not.
caffeine with Adderall pills, so I was like super whatever. So it didn't do the trick for me, right? And for me, honestly, I thought I was gonna get smarter. You know,
Yeah.
if that's
Dial you in, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh shit, like I'm about to learn this shit. I'm about to whatever. So but no, everything that I read, it just I couldn't register. It wouldn't comprehend. But I understood that there's a style of learning. You can just share that with you really briefly quick. So when you learn something, it's not just typically just reading something and understand. When you really understand something, you have to learn both sides of the argument in a sense. So you have an idea, right? And then you grasp that idea, that word you just learned or whatever it is, define that word and then understand it. And then the whole subject that you're trying to learn, whatever that, just that paragraph or whatever that you're trying to write about, understand it by trying to compare and contrast the arguments. When you can truly understand something, you're able to understand both sides of the story. And I didn't read this from a book. This is what I just taught myself in a sense. That's how I learn. Like I have to understand that as a whole for me to make an argument. And that's when you truly can say, hey, I get what I'm talking about. So for the most part, if anybody wanted to talk about these certain things in the future and stuff like that, I'm more than happy to talk about any of this openly. You know, I just don't know enough to make an argument, but all I can say is that I just wanted to bring these certain things to light, and maybe you guys can enlighten us.
Yeah.
And you guys can school us on a thing or two, you know? And because in school, I never did well. And if you actually, here's my confession right now.